I'd like to call the Board of Education meeting. It's December 5th, 2019 at 5:11. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler?
Yes.
Mr. Dolson?
Yes.
Mrs. Mack?
Yes. I'd like to have a motion to add a small addendum item for board refinance discussion. Bond refinance discussion. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Roll call?
Mr. Dolson?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mrs. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler?
Yes.
Mrs. Mack?
Yes. I don't have that in front of me. So item 1,
That's right, I'll fix it.
okay.
No, but for her to
I
announce
can't
the
read.
next, she doesn't have it, she doesn't have anything to
Oh.
work off of. And we don't have the Chromebook out.
Yeah. So item 2, special meeting, it's item A, hiring of the treasurer. So any discussion? May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Discussion? This is for the hiring of our treasurer, Craig
Yanniclos?
Yanniclos. Okay? It's a 2.5 year.
3.5.
3.5 year contract. May I have a motion?
So
I think- Second,
Did that.
didn't-
I
I think we
already
already
did it.
did that.
Okay.
I think the discussion is that it's great news. We found our candidate and we've
Yes.
discussed terms and we have a contract that we sent him and he replied back saying he's good with all the terms. So this is to approve that contract, which then eventually we will sign and he will sign and it will become official.
That will be wonderful. Okay.
And I think it's also, should be noted that we were given actually 2 very strong candidates, and, you know, I believe that it actually even makes me feel better about Craig coming on board by the fact that there really was sharp competition and he went out and very enthused with the job that leaders did for us this time.
Yep, and he's very excited to join us and we are very excited
for him
to join us.
And
And
he-
we are grateful for John.
Yes.
For, serving as our interim, and you got another month and a half to fill that chair, if you would, please.
Nobody's more excited probably than John.
Right.
I'm sure when I leave.
The end is near.
Yeah, I'm sure you.
Okay, roll call?
Mr. Dolson?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mrs. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler?
Yes.
Mrs. Mack?
Yes. So we have item, let's move this to
Motion to
Zero.
to
2C or-
2C, and this will be the bond refinance discussion. I just want to check in with everybody and see how everybody feels. So may I have a motion? No, I don't need a motion.
Don't need
Yeah.
Okay, so we have had a little bit of new information that things are still moving in the right direction for the bond, and I wanted to hear your thoughts based on, the information you got this week from Mr. Purcella, if you still want to move forward with the refinancing of our bond. Or would you like another meeting to get more information? Mr. Purcella, I did talk to him today, and he did offer to come in on Monday with Mr. Larson, and we already had something preliminarily scheduled, and if we would like to have a 15-minute recap meeting on Monday, we can also do that as well. So, thoughts?
Well, I had a conversation with Mr. Purcell this afternoon also, and I went through the 21-page report that he provided to us. That was the same format and report that was provided back in early September. It's just updated numbers. And so I understood most of it. I had some questions on some of it, and I talked through some of those. I was comfortable with everything. I mean, to summarize it, back September 3rd was the date of the original report that we got, and at that point, the the savings, the net present value savings was about 16.6% based on the interest rates back at that time, which equated to $7.2 million savings. So what that means is that if you went back to September 3rd and we were able to lock into those rates and we did the refinancing, that our taxpayers would save $7.2 million in today's money over the term, the whole term of the bonds. Okay, today the interest rates have fluctuated some. They came down and then they came back up and then they came down again. And where we're at now in the report that he gave us of a few days ago was the savings is about 12.8%, which equates to about $5.6 million. And so it's still very positive. The threshold of when you would want to go forward with this or not is at 3%, and we're at 13%. And he had mentioned before that if we got down to 10% or less, he would come back to us about whether or not we would still want to do it. So he was using 10% as a floor to say if it drops below 10, we should have a discussion. But if it's north of 10, it's still a strong recommendation to do it. And the idea is that you could postpone all of this and wait down the road for all the bonds to be callable, but you have no idea if down the road the interest rates are ever going to be this low again. So, the idea is you lock in savings now, or you gamble and you wait, and you may never have an opportunity to refinance and save money. And what the board has chosen, the path we're on, is let's take the savings now while they're there.
The other part of it is, and some of you remember a double-digit number, that still does exist, because on top of the savings for the bond by refinancing the bonds, we also, because of the way interest rates have turned, we have a $4 million hold to cover essentially we had a swing loan, because we didn't want to raise, our taxpayers' rates, and we had bonds that essentially overlapped because the high school bond not being paid off yet and having this thing. So we had essentially to cover the swing through that so that our taxpayers didn't see an increase. And so we financed that, if you will, double thing. Well, now we don't need this money because of the way the interest rates have gone. So that actually will be on top of the 5.5 or 6, whatever the heck it is. So it ends up being up right around 10 by the time you put in the 4.
Right around 10 what?
Total savings projected outward to the taxpayers, as we go through this. The $4 million, essentially, we would probably end up realizing no matter what anyway, but that is going to get added in. All I'm saying is once we end up talking to our taxpayers about what it is we're doing, we have to give them a complete number and kind of explain, why we did this and what it looks like once, it's all done.
Some of that, because when I talked through with Michael, some of that to do an apples to apples comparison from back to September when we first pulled the trigger on this, it was 7.2 million. The savings now is 5.6. The 4 million is a piece of the equation, but whether or not you count that as additional savings, there's some matter of interpretation.
It's not additional. We would end up getting that anyway. All I'm saying is it's still going to be realized savings.
Yes, it becomes part of the factor, and they can talk through it. They can talk through those numbers and explain that too. But the bottom line is that, when we first decided to go forward with this, we understood that the rates can change, and that they were going to keep an eye on it, and that the original savings of $7.2 million to the taxpayers has come down a little bit, but it's still well within the range that this makes complete sense to do. So the question is, do we stay on the same path, and our board members comfortable, or do we need to reconvene another meeting with them, which we can do at our December 18th meeting too. We could bring them in if we want to talk through this too. It just depends where the board wants to go. Do we need another meeting immediately, or do we want to bring them in on the 18th and put it as an agenda item?
Which they said they felt perfectly fine giving a summary of, what the timeline was and what's taken place, if that's what people would like. So.
They will be here tomorrow at 9 o'clock.
That's for a Moody's call.
That's our Moody's call, and part of the thing is, if we think there's a chance we're not gonna do this, we shouldn't be on this Moody's call. Because we're gonna look like, excuse me, dumb bunnies
Yeah,
for having asked for a rating and then not doing it.
right.
So we need to feel pretty comfortable that we're gonna go forward. I mean, until we actually do it, you know, we obviously haven't committed anything, but we need to feel strongly that this is where we're going if we, you know, wanna go forward with this call tomorrow with Moody's. Now, and I don't know, maybe you got into this with Mike too, he's already talked, one of the women who had been an analyst, because there were 3 people there when we went there to meet him eyeball to eyeball. One of the people that was there, the analyst from California, is going to be on the phone. So she knows us, and she's already talked to Mike and said, look, you know, it's going to be kind of a checkup kind of call. You know, in this short of a period, I, you know, don't believe there's any big issues. They don't want anything really planned out, any big presentation. They sent a list of questions that they're gonna wanna cover, but she made it sound to him like it's gonna be pretty much just a shoring up of the numbers in the past, and, you know, we at least have the ability to say, well, Valor Acres is gonna be developed over time, and it's something we didn't really get into in a big way. We have a little more detail that we can probably talk about that, but otherwise, nothing's changed.
No.
And she's not looking for a change, so, you know, she's already more or less said our rating isn't in jeopardy unless something were to have happened, which hasn't.
Right.
And, you know, I don't see them raising our rating based on a phone call. They're just not gonna consider it, not a year or so after the last time they did it. So tomorrow's call is much more ceremonial than the first time when we went to Chicago. But nonetheless, like I said, if we think there's a chance we wouldn't do this, then I would very strongly recommend that we delay the Moody's call.
Right.
Mike, it sounds like you think we should, it's worth pursuing.
I believe so, because I'm concerned that there could be events that could happen, like an impeachment, like China.
Bringing us a
craziness.
Christmas present.
Like, you know, even Iran is moving missiles into Iraq today, I read. I mean, you know, who knows? And I'm not an alarmist. All I'm saying is that if something big happens, it's not gonna take things our direction. And so, you know, my feeling is we have a pretty high savings here right now. You know, certainly it's above any kind of threshold type of thing. The issue is, if you wait, do you honestly believe things are gonna get better? And as you wait, you're giving up some of the time over which you have realized savings.
Yeah.
So that's the other hedge on the risk. Yeah, you're hoping that maybe interest rates will crater even worse than they are. But if you only realize that over 80% of the time period that you would have if you did it now you're penalizing yourself. So in my opinion, we should go forward, but I'm only here for less than another month. So you guys need to feel like this is the right decision.
I mean, the only thing I would add on to that is that, you know, we had thorough conversation on this topic before, and really nothing has changed. This $4 million piece is a piece that has changed in the math, but it doesn't change the numbers at all. You know, the bottom line is, you know, are we north of 10%? When this started out in September, we were at 16.6%. Now we're down to about 13%. We're still in a healthy range of savings. And so, you know, nothing else has really changed. So, you know, do we want to change direction at this point, or are we comfortable staying the course?
Okay, and one more thing. The two, Mike and Mark, you're gonna be in on that conversation tomorrow, that conference call, is that correct?
Right.
And then you're able to report to us back.
Are you able to come over here?
No, I talked to Purcell. You guys can just call me in.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll come over, and I'm assuming is Joelle gonna
Yeah.
be part of it too, so you and Joelle.
Today's Thursday. I think she's due back tonight.
Okay, I mean, we probably should have her on the call. I mean, if not, it's not a big deal, because she's
I'm
actually
fairly
met
sure
this analyst.
her and I have early morning meetings. I think she'll be here.
Yeah.
I think she said through the 5th.
Yes.
Okay, so then you'll
Yeah.
report back if there's nothing
Yeah.
alarming. Okay. Okay. Alan, what are your thoughts on this? Do you have?
I don't really have anything further to add. I mean, I've been through all the emails that got, sent around, so.
Do you have any, would you like a meeting on Monday, an additional meeting? Are you okay waiting to the 18th? Do you find that necessary, and which is fine? A
I
review.
don't need an additional meeting on Monday.
Okay,
But I mean, I'm okay if other people wanna do it, but.
sure. Mark, what are your thoughts?
I'm fine, just stay the course. We can bring them in on the 18th.
Sure.
And kind of just do a
Recap.
catch up on where we're at and see where the rates
Which is
are at.
what we had planned already to do,
Um,
so yeah.
And I don't think there's any urgency to do anything sooner than that.
Okay. I mean, in my mind, savings is savings, and this is a significant enough amount to justify what we're doing. And I don't have a crystal ball either, but I can't imagine it's gonna get much better than this. At least that's the way it's always been. So, you know, I think we should need to jump the chance and still continue on.
We have a fiduciary responsibility to take advantage of an opportunity that's certainly, not unique. And Mike even mentioned that he just, yesterday, day before, I forget, just did the exact same thing for Brunswick.
Right, correct.
And, I mean, it's, almost an identical situation. And, so it's not like we're doing something that's, crazy or anything else. I think it'd be crazy not to.
So I also talked to Mike about Purcell about timing, like why it's taken a little bit longer in some people's minds. He explained that he and Mr. Larson wanted to run everything by the auditor as well, and that way they could ensure that things were gonna go smoothly. There was nothing that the auditor would catch, and there wasn't. So, we know the auditor just left a couple weeks ago, I think, was here.
County auditor?
I think that's who he was talking about, but they ran it by the auditor. That's what they said, so, you can clarify that tomorrow, what they meant, but that they are saying that that's what the timing was.
I think it slowed down a little bit too, because the interest rates started spiking. And if they hadn't turned, we'd be having a different meeting.
Mhm.
We really would. Yeah.
Well, and then Mr. Purcell also said that, the interest rates would be set then, we would agree, and they'd be set, so nothing would change other than paperwork, so once that's done.
Once we get
When
to
is
that.
that setting gonna happen?
I thought he said 17th, it was around the 17th,
18th,
yeah,
17th,
18th, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, what do you
they do
mean
the
set?
pricing.
Because they're set when you sell them.
Well, but the pricing.
The
So
pricing,
then you
sorry.
anticipate,
Okay,
you better price it where you can't sell it.
right.
But then once you price it, what the savings will be exactly, assuming that you can execute. And, to have something go out and not happen would be very bizarre.
So let me just clarify, so once it's set, then that's what goes to the buyers, and that's it? It's as good as sold, or no?
Mm.
I mean,
Well,
I'm asking.
You have to price, the last one, what did it take a day and a half?
Yeah.
Well,
Maybe.
Right, but what happens if the interest rates change once that's set? What happens?
Well,
It is set.
It's
It's
set.
Set.
well, in the original issuance, there were lots of bonds that were sold. It wasn't all 35-year bonds. And so as they went and sold each tranche, that you have to adjust the interest rate to get who's going to buy them, right? And you might need to lower it. You might need to lower it up or down. So you don't get it wasn't $44.5 million of 35-year bonds sold at 4.5%.
Yeah.
It was tranches of bonds sold at varying interest rates that average out to something like 4.5%. So I don't know on this refinance if it's going to be. I would assume it's going to be something similar. So you're not
Percentages may
locked
shift
in
a
on
little bit.
a hard number that
Okay.
says everything's going to be sold
Okay.
at 3%. You won't know until the sale's concluded.
No, but from anticipated how they want to roll it out, what should happen.
Right.
Like I said, so it could be, and timing could goof it up a little bit, but, if we were gonna take it out right at Christmas, it'd be different than waiting afterward, just simply because, people aren't doing anything. So there's some other influences, but basically speaking, this should go out pretty easily, and, I would think without much effort. They know already, different buying groups that they're gonna be working with for, a lot of it. We have to,
Right.
And, you know, that's one thing, if we do wanna talk to Mike about it, and I can bring it up tomorrow, is ask him, you know, how do we structure that? What's the timing for that? Can we have a meeting, you know, a public meeting for that? You know, that kind of stuff, so that at least, again, we can come back to the community and say, you know, here's what we're doing, here's why we're doing it, and if anybody's interested, get back on board again.
The Friends and Family meeting is the informational meeting that we're talking
Yeah.
about, so could we have that possibly the day of the board meeting?
Well, see, that's what we need to talk about that and decide how we wanna do that.
Too early, yeah.
You know, well, I mean, it might not be, at least announcing that we're gonna, I don't know if we can have the meeting that night. If we do, then we need to start saying something awful fast. I don't think we probably have enough time to be able to push out what we need to push out.
Right.
But we could do something, well, I mean, the reality is they're gonna start selling them.
The sale date is supposed to be the 20th of January.
Yeah, is it the
So we
20th
need
now?
to do something before then.
Yeah, maybe the very, beginning of January.
Yeah,
Okay.
first week or so in
You
January.
know.
Well, we have our organizational meeting, maybe.
Well, you'll
maybe
see
we
them
do that.
tomorrow,
Around
if
that.
you would have that conversation with them and
Yeah.
ask them what they think about the timing of that, and then let's get something, so we can start announcing it. Okay, Fred, your thoughts?
I'm signing my refinance papers Wednesday on my house.
Well, there you go, there's something comparable.
Nothing's changed.
Peterson Castle, and then?
I don't see anything's changed.
Okay. All right, so then we're just gonna move forward with this, and I'll make sure the Monday meeting is not not moving forward, and everybody's clear on that. Okay, so we have, item 3, announcement of our board meeting on my zipper's down, sorry, December 18th at 7. And that's it. Item 4, closing items. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right, roll call.
Mr. Dawson?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mrs. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler? Yes. Mrs. Mack?
Yes, we are now adjourned. Thank you.